Hi, I'm Josh, your English learning guide, and this is English Hacks. Welcome back to another video, guys. Today we're going to be talking about babbling or humming, as well as basic intonation. So we are taking a break. We're going to take a step back from the basic sounds today and look at some higher level intonation. You don't really have to memorize too much in here. This is just some examples. This looks like a lot. Don't worry, we're not going to analyze and mark all of this in depth. Again, this is about babbling or humming, and it'll give you some basic practice on using this technique, which you can also then go out into the real world, find, from a video or whatever, you hear a sentence, you're like, oh, I like how that sounds, and you can babble it. You can shadow the intonation and the stress. So we have three groups here, and again, this is just basic. We're not looking at things like commas or colons or whatever. I also left out exclamation points, which is this, that has a particular intonation at the end. We're just positive and negative statements, questions, yes or no questions, and then WH questions. So again, this isn't something you have to memorize. We're going to take this very gently, okay, very lightly. We're just going to go through these. So the babbling or humming, right? I'm going to say the sentence, and then I'm going to go ahead and sort of babble it or hum it a couple times, and you can kind of repeat as I go. Okay, so I like cats. Okay, notice you can also pay attention to that music, right? Dun dun dun, dun dun dun. So not stressed, stressed, stressed. Not stressed, stressed, stressed. Dun dun dun, dun dun dun. She eats potatoes. She eats potatoes. So here we have potatoes. Potatoes. Stress in the middle. Okay. We don't do that. We don't do that. Okay. We don't do that. Next one. They don't want it. They don't want it. Right? Okay. So, yes or no statements, with just regular periods at the end, no exclamation points. The basic intonation is we always go down at the end. We drop. So it doesn't matter, again, if that last syllable is stressed or unstressed. Here it's stressed, it doesn't really matter. Here it's not stressed, it doesn't matter, okay? Whether it's stressed or not, at the very, very, very end, sort of that last little moment, we have to sort of just drop off the cliff. So like the cliff is like the side of a mountain, right? You just drop. Normally we would say cats, cats, cats. There's sort of, when we stress it, there's sort of like a little arc, a little motion to it. Cats, cats. It goes down a little bit towards the end, but if it's at the end of a sentence, right? I like cats, cats, cats. And kind of just drops off in the intonation. She eats potatoes, potatoes. Okay. We don't do that. We don't do that. They don't want it. They don't want it. Okay, it just drops off. That can be kind of hard to hear a little bit, especially if your language is syllable timed or some other system than stress timed, which English is. If you speak a stress timed language, there's a very good chance that your language does exactly the same thing. So for yes or no questions, okay, yes or no questions. Do you see him? Do you see him? So you notice these two are very small. Like, that's it. Ta-ta. Okay, and then see him. See him. Dun 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 dun. Now here we'll go ahead and mention this now, so this isn't confusing. Many languages do this. I know even Japanese does this, at least in informal speech. We go up at the end for a question tone. So even if that last word is not stressed, which in this case, him is not stressed, we're gonna go up, but we're not just gonna go up. There's a specific intonation for the question. And to me, it feels like it curls, right? So a curl is kind of like that, or you can think of it like that's a curl. So do you see him, right? Him. It almost sort of like it curls back on itself. That's how I interpret it and how I sort of experience it and like to describe it. If you don't like that explanation, that's fine, as long as you understand that it goes up and it's sort of this special tone. Okay, so again, your language probably does that anyway, but we also do that for yes or no questions in English. The WH questions are different. So, do you see him? Do you see him? So again, this is still not stressed. It's not stressed. It's just the intonation at the very end, as we're finishing the word, we start to pull up. Okay. Do you see? So, do you see him? Do you see him? Do you see him? Okay. Notice I'm saying see him with no H. We'll talk more about that later. That's a connection rule. Moving on. Are you sure about it? Are you sure about it? Okay. That one's kind of cool, I think. Again, it is not stressed, but we're going up with that intonation. Now for this next one, cats is stressed, and we still have that intonation, so we can see maybe how that sounds a little different. Does he like cats? Does he like cats? Okay. So, do you see him? Do you see him? Does he like cats? Does he like cats? If we babble this, down, down, up, up. Which, by the way, sometimes you'll hear, oh, should be always, but for now, because you're learning, sometimes you'll probably hear that there might be more than one stressed syllable in a sentence, and one sounds higher, or it even seems like maybe this isn't stressed and this is stressed. Both of these are stressed. That's a different topic. It's part of how stress time languages work and how we emphasize things. So if you noticed that, good job. If you didn't, that's okay. We'll learn that a little later, but don't worry about that right now. Will they be there? Will they be there? Okay. Okay. Will they be there? Will they be there? Now for WH questions. There's two tricks that you want to remember about WH questions. Now, these WH words can also be used in statements. For example, if I say, that is where I live. That's a statement. So I point to my house. I say, that is where I live. That is the place where I live. That's going to work a little bit differently. That's inside a normal sentence. Don't worry too much about that right now. But in a WH question, okay, if the WH is the question, the WH word will be stressed. You can think of it sort of as a replacement for the noun or the verb, right? So what do you want? I want a cat. So cat is a noun, it's stressed, sort of replaces that content in a way. That's one way to think about it. But anyway, the WH word, which includes how is part of the group, is usually stressed in most cases. We'll see a case here where it's not. Just like a simple statement, we are going to go down at the end. It's exactly the same intonation over here. Here we have the question tone, here we don't. If you use the question tone with a WH question, it sounds like you're questioning the question, right? So if I say, what do you want? And you say, what do I want? What do I want? Sounds like, you know, how could you ask? You should know what I want. Okay, so a little bit different there. But yeah, we want to go down at the end, so pay attention to that. What do you want? What do you want? Okay, notice we have some weird things going on. Woulda instead of what to do. Don't worry about that right now. Babbling. What do you want? Okay, so we get stress and stress. But then of course we have to drop at the very end. Where does she live? Where does she live? Okay, stress, stress, not stress. Now this case is a little bit different. The verb to be is usually not stressed. It's just an equal sign. Or it's used as a helping verb in the ing, I am walking, right? That structure. Sometimes though, it's actually the main focus. For example, this sentence is about someone's state of being. How are you? How are you, right? Now it is possible to say, how are you? How are you? That sounds more like we're emphasizing you. Like I say, oh, hey, how are you? And you say, oh, I'm good. How are you? Right? How are you? You're sort of throwing it back to me. But it's very common without any previous context to stress that are, in which case this how is actually not really going to be stressed. How are you? So this one, again, we drop at the end. This pattern is a little bit different. It doesn't have to just be with how. We want to try to train your ears, not rely on rules all the time. So this other pattern where the WH word is stressed and then to be is not stressed, that's much more common. So we won't worry too much about that right now, but just be aware of that. So we'll go ahead and say this with the stress on are, right? How are you? How are you? Okay. Da-dun-dun. Da-dun-dun. How do you spell that? How do you spell that? Again, notice we have stress here on how. How do you spell that? How do you spell that? How do you spell that? Okay. Okay. When will you do it? When will you do it? By the way, you don't have to say, when you're babbling, you don't have to just go, all right, that's one way to do it. You can sort of get a little bit of the basic sounds like, you're just not trying to say when, like with perfect sound. So you can add a little bit of the sounds there, that's fine. Or again, if you just want to hum. It's a little bit harder because your lips are closed, but either way, right? So here, stress, stress, when will you do it? When will you do it? Okay. Who likes dogs? Who likes dogs? This here, da, da, da. All three stressed. Dogs is going to be the highest. Again, don't worry too much about that right now, but who likes dogs? Who likes dogs? Okay. Right here, big, big, big. If this, just for contrast, if we were to say it, right? Who likes it? Who likes it? Because it is not stressful. If we say dogs, who likes dogs? Okay. Why are you doing that? Why are you doing that? So we can see that these kind of really collapse into each other. Okay, so we get from why are you do? It almost is kind of like one sound. It's because in real life, right? Why are you? This can actually reduce to which again, we'll talk more about reductions later. This can reduce to ya. And so it'd actually be like, why ya? Why ya? Why you doing? Why you doing? Yeah, see, this is why it's kind of hard to hear, to understand spoken English. Again, don't worry too much about that, but this is one reason why the babbling or the humming is very useful, because you can focus on the intonation without worrying about what the actual words are. And then you'll sort of get used to that when you're listening to real English. What's that? What's that? In fact, as long as the context is clear, let's say my mouth is full, like I'm eating, right? And I point to something and I say, there's a good chance that a native speaker would understand that I'm trying to say, what's that? There's a very good chance. Again, that's partially because of intonation, because of rhythm. Context is important there. Now here, just like with how are you, it's possible to say, what is that? And stress is. In which case you sound like really surprised. So that's a variation depending on the context. We'll learn more about that later, but what is that? What is that? It says, dun dun dun, dun dun dun, What is that? Don't let that be confusing. Again, don't worry about all the details. You don't have to memorize this right now. It's not a big deal. This is just to sort of get you used to this, get you used to the patterns and the flow. It's very light, very gentle, okay? I recommend maybe going through this video one more time for review. Not right now, but maybe, tomorrow or in a couple days. This is really good stuff to kind of get that basic flow and intonation of English into your head, into your bones. Questions, comments, anything here that you didn't understand or whatever, let me know. Subscribe, hit the bell as always, so you'll never miss another video in this course or from English Hacks in general. And I will see you guys in the next one.